are at Shelters by Jesus podcast, and we are so excited that you're with us, you're watching, you're listening, you're hitting subscribe, you're hitting like, you're sharing with your friends, because that brings money in. And if you want to help get people off the street, you go to sheltersbyjesus.com. If you'd like to give, it's $9. We'll get somebody off the street. We also have 4 books out written by the dumb hick from Skowhegan, me. And they have 2 prices, $10 are free. And you put your name and address right there and tell if you want books 1, 2, 3, or 4, all of them. We'll mail them right out to you. You also can call the office at 207-474-8833 and give them your name and address there, and they'll ship it. But the other thing you can do is get a tour. When you call that number, say, I'd like a tour, and you'll meet the residents. You'll see everything we have. And we're just excited about you being a part of this. So now, on to the podcast. Anyway, we got all that out of the way. We're ready to go. And we are happy and excited this morning. We have a couple that's new to the shelter. And we're going to introduce them to you in just a moment here and get their story. Because I don't know their stories either, so we're learning together. So, first of all, we're going to start with names. And
Howard Brown.
And Tracy.
Tracy Brown.
Yes.
All right. She hesitated for a second, Howard. I'm a little nervous now.
I'm getting nervous
I
now.
don't know, baby. She ain't going to carry that around, baby. All right. So, first of all, I'm going to ask you a personal question. You can answer or not, but I would love to have you tell us how old you are. How old are you, Howard?
64.
64. And you're 27.
I'm 27 going on 58.
Going on 58.
Yes,
there you go. Well, there you go. So you're not teenagers out on the street. And
No.
So how did you guys end up at a homeless shelter? I know people want to hear that. They love hearing how all this comes about. I don't know why. So
we drove in with our car.
Well, okay. Well, that took care of that. I don't know why I wrote the podcast. I could have just told you they drove in here like everybody else with a car. Now, what caused you to drive in with the car?
We live with our 32-year-old son, which is a great person. He's had some mental issues, and he's going through a psychotic break.
Yep.
And for some reason, he thinks his parents, us two, are the enemy.
Mm.
We're not safe.
And we're not safe there, so we had to leave for our safety and for his well-being.
Okay. So, leaving, but you had no place to actually just go to.
No, did not.
No, we stayed in our vehicle for a few nights.
So that's how you wound up homeless. You wound up homeless.
We called around and we called here, spoke to somebody, and they said they had
right
to do
away
it.
here. The other places, I have to tell you, I have known people that have gone to shelters before, and Shelters by Jesus didn't make me feel horrible. It was very hard to come here. We did sleep in the car for a few days.
Wow.
But seeing Seth's face when I came in and we talked.
And you still came after seeing that face?
Yes. No, he was.
Wow.
We were a little early, but
I'm going to say, man.
He was direct and safe, but he didn't make us feel horrible about our situation. Nobody wants to be homeless. You know.
Amen, sister.
Thank you. And like, we don't receive food stamps or anything like that. My husband retired. I work, but right now I'm getting an unemployment check every week. And
Yep.
like, thank goodness that we have the donations and that shelters are able to feed us. And I thank Jesus every day for this place now. I think this is, God did send this to people. And I do believe this.
Amen. Well, I always tell people it's like a catch-22. I'm glad you're here because we want to minister, but I'm sad that you had a situation that caused you to come here.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's both sides.
Yes.
But it's always exciting to meet new people coming in. And this first time I've heard your story, so I didn't know your story either. I haven't had a chance to sit down and get it. And because we don't just have an open forum where everybody stands up and gives us why they're here.
Right.
We figured they're here because they ain't got a place else to be, because this isn't where they would choose to go. If they had a choice, it wouldn't be a homeless shelter, of course. So
True.
Anyway, so Howard, what did you do for work before you retired?
I used to be a contractor, carpenter, Did carpentry.
kitchen
All right.
cabinets, you know, so you can.
You're a cabinet maker?
He
At
can
one
be.
point I
He
did.
has been.
Have been?
Jack of all trades.
All right.
We've raised 6 children.
I tried driving
raised
truck
how many?
for a while.
We've had 6 children.
You got 6 children.
So when you talk about kids,
So that was your job.
oh yeah. I looked forward to going to work. That was my time away. I
I
loved working part-time jobs.
I love it. A mom says, I'll go to work, so I don't have to be homework.
Yes.
You know what drives people crazy? And they'll say, does your wife work or stay at home and raise the kids? I'm going, she stays home and works harder than I do
Yes.
to raise the kids.
Yes.
You know, anybody that's raised children will not say, does a woman work or stay at home
I
with
agree.
the kids?
I agree.
Aha.
Years ago, we were living in Connecticut, and we both got a job together doing the same job, same pay.
Mhm. Mhm.
One of us had to stay home. We played cribbage because I beat her 99% of the time in cribbage.
Really?
She won.
You're a braggart.
She
Yep.
won.
She won 99%?
No, that one time, I had to stay home with the children.
Oh, that one time you got your butt kicked.
Yes.
After 2 weeks,
Well, she had an incentive to beat you that time,
I
brother.
did.
I did.
after 2 weeks,
Yes.
I got on my hands and knees and begged her,
Yes, he
threatened
did.
her with divorce.
Ah!
I cannot take it. I cannot do your job.
He said, "Okay,
I
I'm
am
gonna
not
cook
half the
for 'em,
person you are.
There
but
you
no
go.
dishes." He said, "I'll cook, but no dishes."
I could not, and
I
I
don't do windows.
Nope.
will tell anybody to this day, no man could step in a woman's shoes and raise children, keep house, and take care of a baby man
Yeah,
like a woman.
I tell you,
no way.
you know what? I'll have to say amen and second that motion, brother. I'll tell you. My wife, everybody says, you raised 4 kids. I said, no, my wife raised 4 kids. You know, I got to play the good guy. She had to play the disciplinary with them all day, and I come home and just play, at night. Oh yeah, no. The women get the crappy end of the stick when it comes to raising kids.
I sure do.
And then we got a gal here that her husband took off and left her with 6 kids. You know, we call her 6-kid Kate.
Yes,
And
yes.
she is the sweetest little thing. And I
Jeez.
watch her, and I mean, I could not do what that woman does. But she handles raising those 6 kids, never complains, you know, and I'll look and she got one in arm, one on a hand, and one running by.
I bet she
And
does.
I'm going, how in the world does she do that?
Mhm.
So anyway, you're 100% right, sir. You and I will agree on the role that that when God created the woman, He created a tougher animal than He did the man.
Yeah.
They have to be.
There is no. I work 8, 10, some jobs 12 hours a day. I had a break here and here, and
Yeah.
I knew my job was done. There is no done. There is no break.
No.
I've seen her go to bed and wake up at 2 in the morning with this crying child.
Oh yeah.
It never stops. I couldn't do it.
I loved it. I loved being.
Well,
a
it's
mom. I
not-
loved
great.
being a
But God
mom.
Great
made
mother.
made girls that way. My wife, she wanted to be home taking care of the children.
Yes.
My very first one, when we had the baby, our oldest, we left her with my mom a couple times, and my wife would go off to work, and all she could think about was
Yes.
her baby all day long. Wasn't that she thought the baby was going to get hurt,
No.
but she wanted her baby. So she worked 3 or 4 days, kept because you're working when we got married. Then she says, "Can we talk?" And I said, "Yeah." She says, "Is there any way I can just stay home and take care of my baby?" And you know, living on, I didn't make a lot of money, and I said, "Well, it's going to mean a lot of sacrifices,
Right.
because if we're going to get by on one paycheck,
Right.
I'm willing to do it, but understand." And man, I'll tell you, she never once complained
No.
about it. She wore clothes that we got so much better in our storage room than what that woman wore, and never a peep. It was like you're doing the best you can. Don't worry about it. We were poor. We ate some meals. We have spaghetti with some butter on them because we couldn't afford sauce or anything to go with it, and never complained. She says, "I got my babies," and she
That's what you wanted.
made the kids the clothes because we couldn't afford to go and buy them. So I bought cloth. All the school clothes my wife made for our daughters, and we had
Lot of
more money
work.
when my son come along. But for my daughters, she did it all. She made all this stuff. I mean, they were dressed to the nines, but it was because my wife worked night and day
She put a lot into it.
to get them ready
She
for
did.
school and to have them all set. And she'd find out what the modern stuff was. She'd get a pattern like it. And boy, I tell you, ladies, I tip my hat to ladies, and especially to my wife. My wife is more man than I'll ever be.
Yep.
And I'm the first to admit it. And Seth's behind the camera, and he'll admit it too. If he was on this side of the camera, he'd say amen too, brother. I'll tell you right now, we've come to really respect that. And watching the women come here, a bunch of them have children coming in, and they're coming in single moms, a bunch of them. And to watch them take care of those kids, and they're prepared to go get a job. All that they got to do, they do it all, and they're incredible. And there's people pointing fingers and going, "Look at the homeless." Well, I'll tell you what, them homeless women, as you call it, that probably got their act together more than a lot of the men that ain't homeless out there. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the truth, man. That's just the truth. So anyway, you said you also work part-time. What did you do, Tracy?
Right now, I was working at Pullen's Antique Auctions House, right in Fairfield.
Oh, you worked at the. Oh,
Yes.
I had a friend that worked there.
Yes, I
He used to
loved
work
it.
there.
A little bit too much. I did the shipping and the packing of, when we had the auctions and answered the phones.
Yeah.
I just was supposed to be able to go back a couple weeks ago, and I haven't been able to.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be able to concentrate right now on a job.
Yeah.
And my issues when I give something I want to give my all.
Absolutely.
And so I'll be going back there, or I'm thinking about the Goodwill. Actually, my daughter got a job there. She'll be coming home the 16th. And
Your daughter
starting
works
the
at
20th.
Goodwill. What?
Right now, the one in Bangor, and she'll be working in the one in Waterville
Oh, really?
on next Saturday. That's where she'll
Okay.
be starting. And I'm thinking that this is really nice, and I feel safe, and my nerves are feeling a little bit less stressful. So I'm probably going to go to work to the Goodwill.
Well, the statement you just made goes contrary to everybody singing out there about going to a homeless shelter.
know.
When you say my nerves are calming down while I'm here, if you're thinking about homeless shelters, you think your nerves are going the other way. Seriously, right?
Depends on the shelter.
Seriously.
Yeah,
You
I'm
are
saying, but
right.
that's what you'd be
Yes.
thinking.
Yes.
And to hear somebody say, I'm in here and I can take my time because I'm settling down, my nerves are settling down. And
100%.
so I hope people, as you watch this and as you support us and your $9 taking people off the street, giving folks like this an opportunity, you're hearing from them what it's like to be here. So if the ones watching, if they'd ask you flat out, is that place, is that worth a $9 investment, my $9 investment? What would you honestly say to them?
I would say it definitely is worth a $9 investment. The first night I was here, I realized we didn't lock my bedroom door. And I'm with a couple of young ladies, and they're awesome. The second night, I was still a little sketchy and PRB. The third night, I have no problem. I feel like I'm home, and the people here treat you so great and kind. And it definitely is worth $9 to feel safe.
It really is. I went into the men's part. I don't like being without my wife.
Well,
I
of
can't
course not.
sleep. I've been up every night at between 1:30 and 2.
Yeah.
Cannot go back to sleep. But when I walked into the men's part, Ken met me and made me feel welcome.
Very much so. It's a
Very,
welcoming
very
place.
much
And
so.
thank you, Seth.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
we try, and as you know, you'll see we have some couples, some families together. We try to keep husbands and wives, but because of the room situations, and
100.
Because
sometimes
of
we tell them we can't because we just don't have the room.
the economy, it's understandable. It very is. I mean, we called several shelters before we did here.
Mhm.
We'll put you on a waiting list.
Or they don't answer,
You know?
or
And
And
they
like
all
I
stated
said,
that we'd have
we
to
did
be
right
separated
away.
too.
even if it was for Seth to say or Tom to say, no, I'm sorry, about call back the next day. At least every time I called Shelters by Jesus, somebody answered the phone and just made me feel better that they were there to talk to.
Well, I've been told this by a lot of social services right now that they're calling, and a lot of the shelters aren't even answering the phone because
they're not.
they're full.
Yep.
And they're just tired of saying no. Instead of
agree.
saying no, they don't answer the phone. So you're not able to even find out why they're not
Which
answering
makes
the
it
phone.
harder on the person calling to
Yes.
try.
Yeah,
very
and then you don't
scary.
know, is that I just catch them at the wrong time? Do I call back?
Right.
What do I do?
Right.
Because you don't get an answer.
Mhm.
But two things: we'll always answer the phone, but secondly, we'll always make room. That's why I say
Okay.
sometimes the men and the women will be separated, because not because we want to do that, because that's where the space is,
Yep.
but we'll always make room. We never ever
Really?
go without room. And we've always said, one of my books, the subtitle is "There's Always Room at the Inn," and we've done that for 15 years. Sometimes we drop a mattress in the sanctuary. As you know, you'll come in and
Yes.
some of the might be ladies and kids in the sanctuary sleeping. They may not have their own room, but they're not on the street, and they
Amen.
got food in their bellies,
And they're safe.
and they're safe. And
Yes.
so that excites us. And that's why it's called Shelters by Jesus. It's not by government. It's not by anything else. It is Shelters by Jesus. And Jesus never turned anybody away. And we never will either. So I want to say thanks for being on my podcast. I know you guys, first time I asked you, especially Howard, he goes, I don't know about this, man. It's kind of scary to be on my podcast. But thank you for taking the time and answering our questions and sharing. And I just want to say thank you to everybody watching. Thank you that you're constantly watching and supporting us through the podcast. Again, if you aren't a subscriber, please hit subscribe and then hit like. Even if I stink, hit like, because you're helping the homeless. You're not helping.
Yes.
It's not for me. What we do here isn't for me. It's not for Pastor Barry. It's so we can feed and house and take care of the homeless.
Yes.
And you can help. You go, well, I wish I had money to give. If you have no money, just hit subscribe and like. And you'll go, oh, I gave them a little bit of money, whatever that is. But also, again, for $9, you can go to sheltersbyjesus.com, hit a button, and for $9, couples like Howard and Tracy here will always have a place to come. And we can always pick the phone up and go, we'll take care of you. But until we meet again on our next podcast, y'all, come back now here.